morning, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. I'm so happy to have you guys here to talk about something that is super important to me and near and dear to my heart, which is how do we achieve a fitness mindset? So as I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about my own kind of journey to achieving a fitness mindset. And a funny story came to mind, which was um, when I was in high school at University High, and I know a lot of our Facebook friends are from Uni High in LA, so hi to all of you guys. So I used to have PE at the last period of the day, seventh period or eighth period, whatever it was. And I remember a couple times a week we would run the mile, which was absolute excruciating torture. It was hot. It was the end of the day. I was ready to get out of there. We used to wear these gross nylon shorts that somehow always hiked up in the middle when you got sweaty and made your legs rub together. They were disgusting. They were not so cute at all. And I remember that I would slog through that mile at like 14 minutes, sometimes 16 minutes. I mean, a 16-minute mile. I would crawl to the finish line. And it was absolute torture. I hated it. I was sweating. I was panting. My heart was beating hard. I felt awful. And finally, the coach, who I think got wind of the fact that it was miserable, and I imagine it was miserable for him to watch me, decided to let me grade papers instead. And I thought, thank you, Jesus. I'm done with this running thing and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And so I stopped running for a good long while until I started medical school. And I remember that first week starting medical school, I met a group of girls who were going to get together to study with ice cream, no doubt. But they always started their study sessions with a run. And so they asked me if I wanted to join. And knowing that I hated running, but in the spirit of new friends and new beginnings, I thought, okay, well, I'll try it. And decided to go on a run with these girls. And I remember during that run, I had that same feeling, the sweating, the heat, the heart racing, the exertion that I disliked. And I looked around and I noticed they're all feeling the same thing. These girls are red, they're hot, they're sweaty, but nobody is fighting it. They're in fact embracing it. They're embracing the exertion. And I kind of had a moment. In that moment, I realized that there are two choices I can make. I can either fight against it or I can embody it. I can embrace it. I can embrace the exertion and kind of see where it takes me. Where it takes me on the other side. And I realized something important. I realized that when you are in that exertion and when you embody that exertion and allow yourself to feel it, don't resist it, but embrace it, you're kind of in your body. And when you're in your body, you're out of your mind. And slowly I started to get kind of addicted to that feeling of not being in your head, not overthinking, but just being in your body and not resisting that feeling of exertion, the feeling of difficulty. And this is what was kind of modeled to me from my friends. If you think about it, there's really nothing that we do in our lives, whether it's an important relationship with our partner, with our best friend, building a business, getting a degree. There's nothing worth achieving that we can achieve without embracing some degree of hustle, rigor, exertion. And when we do that, we see what we can overcome. We see what we can achieve and we become better. We become greater on the other side. So I started running with these girls, still not loving it, right? But slowly getting the bug, and starting to do it for myself and for my own sanity. Fast forward about 15 years, and I'm running kind of regularly, trying to push myself every so often, trying to make it down to the beach, adding on miles. And I get a notification somewhere on a feed for the LA Marathon. And my first thought was, there is no way I could ever run a marathon. No way that that girl who ran a 14 or a 16-minute mile could actually run a full marathon of 32.6 miles. But then there was this voice inside of me that thought, why not? Why can't I do this? And why can't I achieve something crazy, crazy big? And so without thinking much further, I went ahead, I paid the $100 and I signed up for the LA Marathon. Long story short, about 8 months later of training, after 8 months of training, I actually ran and completed the LA Marathon. And so I share that story because a fitness mindset is really a mindset. It's a mindset of embracing and not resisting the hustle, not resisting the difficulty, aligning with something better, knowing that you're going to be stronger on the other side. So why do we do it? Why achieve a fitness mindset, and why exercise anyway? Well, a lot of times people unfortunately combine or align exercise with weight loss, which is totally incorrect. In fact, the studies show that weight loss is really primarily your food. It's got a little bit to do with exercise, but much more to do with your calorie intake. Now, that having been said, when you exercise as you're losing weight or as you're, quote, dieting, you're much more likely to preserve your muscle mass or lean body mass. When you preserve muscle mass, you're much more likely to preserve a higher metabolism. So it is important in the long run in body composition, preserving muscle mass, as well as in being able to maintain that lost weight. But really the benefits of exercise far outweigh and surpass anything that has to do with weight. And there are so many health benefits. So we all know the endorphins that we can get from exercising. We know that those endorphins are happy hormones. They're mood enhancing, mood stimulating. We know that regular exercise is associated with reduced anxiety as well as depression. And in fact, rigorous exercise, so the more intense that exercise is, you are kind of creating this stress state in the body. And they've shown that when you can adapt to a higher physiologic stress through intensive exercise, you're much more capable to adapt to psychological stress. And so it is one way to really concretely attack anxiety. But beyond mood, there's so many other benefits. So regular exercise has been associated with reduced risk of breast cancer, colon cancer, among others. It's been associated with a reduced risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes. In fact, studies show that if people exercise regularly, pre-diabetics, and there's millions of pre-diabetics in this country, that they are less likely to go on to develop type 2 diabetes than if they were taking a drug for diabetes, a drug called metformin. So that's how powerful exercise can be. It's also been associated with, like we said, mood benefits, but also cognitive benefits. So reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline. So there's tremendous health benefits when people exercise regularly. And it doesn't have to be a lot. So in one study, they showed that people who were desk workers, so sitting at their desks for 8 hours a day, if they got up actually 7 minutes, only 7 minutes a day, and did rigorous exercise, that their mortality was reduced. So they lived longer with just 7 minutes of exercise a day. So think about how forgiving our bodies are, that if we give a little bit, 7 minutes a day, it rewards us with not only better quality of life, but also with longevity. And so how do we start, and what do we start? So there's a lot of different kinds of exercise, and what I recommend to my patients is just get moving. I don't care what you do, running, swimming, biking, jogging. How about just dancing? Putting on the radio and dancing around your house. That in itself is good enough to get your foot in the door, and good enough to continue, because that can be a great degree of exertion. But there's one kind of exercise that I want to talk about, which is HIIT, and that's high intensity interval training. Now there's a lot of conversation around HIIT exercise because they've shown that with this type of activity, you can do better in regards to weight loss, in regards to burning visceral fat. So that's that fat that's not under the skin or subcutaneous, but inside the belly, inside the abdomen. We know that men tend to deposit weight inside their midsection. Women, when they get in their 40s, nearing perimenopause and menopause, start to target weight in that midsection as well. It's a function of estrogen going down and the relative amount of testosterone in our bodies being higher. But the problem is that visceral fat, that fat that is inside the belly and around the organs, is actually the harmful kind of fat, not subcutaneous, not the fat that's under your skin, but the fat that is inside the viscera is associated with heart disease and metabolic risk. So HIIT actually attacks visceral fat. It's also been associated with reductions in blood pressure and cholesterol and blood sugar. So there's lots of benefits. So what is HIIT? HIIT is actually intervals of achieving a target heart rate, a higher heart rate or a peak heart rate than you otherwise would. And in order to calculate your target heart rate, you can use your phone, take the number 220, subtract your age. So let's say you're 40 years old, 220 minus 40 is 180, and then multiply that number by 0.8. So anywhere from, in this case, about 160 to 180 is going to be your target heart rate. And what you want to do is have short intervals of achieving that target heart rate. Let's say you can only start with 30 seconds. That's fine. Work your way up slowly to a minute. And the studies show that even doing 1 minute on at your target heart rate, 2 minutes off, 1 minute on, 2 minutes off, is effective in achieving the cardiometabolic benefits that we talk about with HIIT. So this week, I want you to focus on a fitness mindset. Take small bites. If you're not physically active, if you're not exercising right now, if you're not moving, let's not think about the marathon. Let's think about what we can achieve. Maybe it's that 7 minutes that's going to increase your lifespan. Get your foot in the door and get started and work your way up from there. I hope you enjoyed our live. I hope that it inspires you and encourages you to achieve and aspire to a fitness mindset. And I hope to see you again next week. Okay?